Alright, what is up, guys? Welcome back to another Path of Exile 2 video with some Diablo 2 soundtrack in the background because it is one of the best OSTs of all time, hands down. Just listening to it makes me kind of want to play the game again, but that's not what we're here to talk about. First off, if you don't mind hitting that subscribe button, really appreciate it. Helps me out. We hit 1,400 subs recently. Now we're going to go for 1,500. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Path of Exile 2, the state of the game, kind of what the state of GGG, and some fan sentiment that I'm seeing at the moment. Share some of my thoughts as well. So if you hadn't heard, this is not, really new news. It came out roughly a week ago or so. But just basically GGG letting us know that going forward, they're going to release major updates for POE 2 every 4 months. So essentially, every 4 months, POE 2 will get a new league, and every 4 months, POE 1 will get a new league. So if you're playing both games, it gives you 2 months before new content comes out for the other one if you want to jump into that, or if you have less time and you just want to play one game, or you just enjoy one game, and you want to play it for a longer league, you get a 4-month league. So I think it's kind of a win-win. Probably a good approach, because 3 months was kind of to me, it was too short for me. And then other people, like, if you're gaming 20 hours a day, then they burn out after 3 to 4 weeks. So kind of a win-win for everybody, I think, in my opinion. If you're a big PoE fan, if you like PoE 1 and PoE 2, so that's good to know. There's kind of some hinting at what's going to be in the league. It kind of sounds like they're going to be releasing possibly the rest of the acts. And I would really hope that we at least see some new weapons and at least another class, preferably to me, the Druid. I would like to see more than one new class come out, because we know that, there are several more classes yet to be released. And when they just release one at a time, it kind of makes the content a little less appealing, because almost everybody that has been playing the game is going to play the newest class just to get to see, how that class plays and figure it out. So it kind of creates a little bit of monotony in the variety, or lack thereof. So everybody's playing the same class, everybody's making content on the same class. It's just not as interesting. So that's kind of where we're at for PoE 2. I think most people are happy with this, like just kind of reading through the comments. I know I'm fairly happy with it. I don't really, the timing is kind of annoying in a way, because if you're like me and you just kind of love ARPGs in general, Last Epoch, their next season starts at almost the exact same time. So it's like you got to pick and choose between both games. Like, I think they need to, one of those games, don't care which, needs to get on a schedule where it's offset with PoE 2, because if they're both releasing new seasons, new leagues at the almost exact same time, it's just going to split players between the two games. And it's just, I have no problem playing both games. Like, I think both games are good. But having to pick and choose between one or the other when the leagues start is a little frustrating, because like I said, I would enjoy playing both, but if they both come out within a week or two of each other, either I start playing the one and get 2 weeks into the character, and then the other game league starts, and now I have to decide, do I want to play that and start over from like level 1 in a different game on a new character, fresh character, or continue playing the other game and ignore that one that just started. So a bit of a conundrum there. Hopefully something will happen, but not sure if it will. So I wanted to then fast forward. The other thing with this announcement, it was like announced very quietly. I don't check daily, but I would say every week or two, for the last couple months, I will, just search, Path of Exile 2, go to the homepage, see if there's any new updates or any information. It used to be almost like constant updates popping up in my feed on like YouTube and stuff. Almost no information on there as of late. So, sometimes your algorithm changes. And I was just thinking to myself, like, well, I'm not really seeing anything come up on YouTube about PoE 2, so let me just, like, go check out their website. And it's been kind of radio silence for a few months now, until this announcement. I saw it a few days ago. It's such a small announcement, I didn't really feel like it was worth even making a video about. But then, I came back today just to see real quick, hey, have they put out any more information? Like, basically they're saying we have to wait until August, like a couple days before, or maybe like a week before the release. They're going to give us an update of what's going to be in the league. So I don't even think I don't know if there's going to be any teasers leading up to that or something, but just kind of a content drought for PoE 2. And personally, in my opinion, in the past videos I've made, I gave my thoughts on that. Like, I don't think PoE 2 is really in a great state currently. Like, it has a good, foundation of it could be a great game, but I think right now I would not really enjoy it in its current state as like a seasonal game. I think my first playthrough was a lot of fun, and maybe when the new, of course, when the new acts come out, that next playthrough will be a lot of fun. But I'm hoping it doesn't fall into that same pitfall that Diablo 4 did, where it was like the first playthrough where it was new and fresh, like I was, enjoying it for the most part, pushing through to get to the end, and then after that it was like trying to come back to it was just so painful I gave up eventually. PoE 1, Diablo 2, Last Epoch, like even Titan Quest, Grim Dawn, games like that, like they capture something to where after a time, a certain amount of time goes by. Like Diablo 2, that game is over 20 years old. I think it just hit like 25 years old almost. It's been something that I've played off and on and enjoyed it every single time I picked it up and played it. And, it's addictive. It hooks you. As soon as you watch that like first cinematic and the music hits, you're in Act 1 in the Rogue encampment. Like I'm hooked, for a month, 2 months. It's just one of those games where it has captured some kind of magic. It put a genie in a bottle. It's hard to like recapture that, and nothing really has come close until PoE 1, and PoE 1 kind of expanded on Diablo 2 in a sort of a different direction. Like nothing comes close to Diablo 2 as far as like art style, story, cinematics, voiceovers, character classes, like just the itemization. It's it's a perfect game for what it is. The only drawback to Diablo 2 is that at the time it was made, it would not receive like regular content or future updates. Like we got Lord of Destruction, and even that was like a massive win, massive expansion, huge growth, like popularity surge for the game. It had so much more, there was synergies, there was uniques, there was rune words. I mean, Lord of Destruction took an amazing game and perfected it, and to this day, like I still think nothing holds a candle to it. POE 1, you know, very similar gameplay and mechanics, and you know, the world building doesn't come close, the storytelling doesn't come close, but what POE 1 has that the Diablo 2 doesn't have is regular content updates and very like deep mechanics, very deep customization. So it captures that, you know, sort of just gameplay loop, and it does it in a very efficient way. It's, you know, fun to come up with a build in that game, and there's so many different ways you could create a character that, you know, it's almost infinite. So you could do almost anything you want in PoE 1. So from that perspective, it brings you back into it constantly. PoE 2, the issue I have with it is that, like, the lack of customization and the way that you are sort of pigeonholed into certain builds based off of like the weapon you equip. So that can be kind of frustrating. But I just wanted to show you, you know, some of the thoughts that people are having. So they put out a little minor patch and they just said, hey, you know, we made some cosmetics, supporter packs for PoE 1, and if you buy those microtransactions, you know, you'll get the cosmetics also work in PoE 2. Like, okay, you know, that's, you know, I don't personally have a problem with it. It's not, you know, especially from like a marketing standpoint and the promises they've made. If we get cosmetics, it's supposed to work in both games. But just look at some of the feedback here. So like the first post, fix the game, nobody cares about this cosmetics if nobody plays this. A couple, you know, positive remarks, really just glossing over the dog water performance, focusing on microtransactions, blah blah blah. You know, some, you know, is this a sick joke? You know, basically saying, a lot of people saying the game is kind of dead. You know, a lot of just people kind of upset, airing some of their frustration with the game. And, you know, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing of what they've done here, but it kind of surprised me that people were being so vocal with some of their feedback, and, you know, sharing similar thoughts kind of to what I had about the game. So, you know, we get a patch for microtransaction, are you kidding? You know, waiting for the, you know, people to start defending. Worst announcement, comment has nothing against guideline rules. But yeah, I mean, so people are clearly upset. It does, you know, it is kind of like a slap to the face when the only information they put out is like, hey, in a month and a half, you know, we're gonna have a content update, and then a week or so, a week and a half later, they're like, hey, you know, here's some microtransactions you can buy. Just probably like bad timing in a way. Like, they should have probably at least put something with the microtransactions just to, you know, kind of throw us a bone. Like, hey, you know, you can get microtransactions, they'll work in both games. And, you know, here we rebalance these couple things. You know, here's a couple buffs just to make people feel good and maybe want to buy their microtransactions. So, you know, somebody saying just 5K people playing this game. Let's check out the Steam charts. And just out of curiosity, which, you know, ooh, ouch. I mean, I know that there are people that play it through the launcher, which I do personally, play through the launcher. So we've got, you know, about an 11,000 like peak in the last 24 hours. Let's just check out PoE 1, and, you know, PoE 1 clearly the superior, you know, player base. But then you look at all-time peak players, like, just look at the drop-off here. Like, that's, you know, that's a pretty significant, pretty massive drop off. I would say POE 1, you know, pretty consistent, pretty solid. And again, it doesn't, you know, it gives you like a good sample size, but it doesn't tell you everything, but it's a fairly good indicator. So, you know, all-time peak of POE 2 is almost, you know, triple that of POE 1, but your, you know, current player base on the newer game, you know, granted this had a patch recently, so, you know, in between the patch when they had a really long drought in between patches, you know, they were down to like 5k, so, but just look at like this drop off, and then, you know, look at the lift here. So, you know, we'll see what happens. You know, give me your thoughts in the comments down below, guys. What you think of both games, what you're excited about, what you're looking forward to. Thanks for tuning in, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and remember to give them the D.